right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at TCP/IP today. And then we'll continue on. So we're in Lesson 8, Chapter 8, Lesson 1. And we want to look at the TCP/IP model. OSI model, 7 layers. Programmers do not throw sausage pizza away, correct? TCP/IP model is going to be 4 layers. 4 layers are going to be different than what you had in the OSI model. The TCP/IP model is going to be one that's going to be a more specific one than OSI. Because the TCP/IP model is designed for the TCP/IP suite of protocols. Now, because it's a model sitting there, and the way it's set up, means it's going to be platform independent. So we can set it up to work on different platforms. So it'll work with Windows, we can make it work with Novell, we can use it with Macintosh, we can use it with the Linux, whatever. We can use it with different hardware as part of that platform also. So that we're not limited to any type of set specifications, as long as we can write a program that will handle it around it. TCP/IP again being the one that's used by the internet. So this one you need to pay attention to, but as far as knowing the specific layers of the model, the thing you're going to more likely run into when you take a certification test and such is going to be the items in terms of the OSI model, not the TCP/IP model. So there's a few little things in the TCP/IP one compared to the OSI one that you got to be careful of, that they'll trick you up on. And keep in mind, sometimes on the certification test they're throwing you things to trick you up and see if you really know what you're dealing with. So, if we look at the TCP/IP model, 4 layers. But we've got A, T, S, S, I. Believe what I write, not what I say. So we get A, T, I, N. Okay? In the OSI model, you had what? Programmers do not throw sausage pizza away. Correct? Everybody remember those? So you know those. And we've been talking so far, and what we've talked about so far, we've been working up from the bottom, and we've worked through several of these layers. We've talked about the physical layer. We've talked about the data link layer. We've talked about the devices and protocols and such there. We've talked about the network layer. Talked about the devices and the protocols and what happens there. And even our datagrams we've talked about on. And we've worked all the way up to the transport layer and talked about all of those on. Now, let's look at the TCP/IP model. The top layer is going to be the application layer. Okay? That layer is basically going to correspond to the top 3 layers of your OSI model. To your application, your presentation, and your session layer. What happens in those 3 layers over here is going to happen in the top layer over here. Second layer is going to be your simplest one out of probably all 4 of these to worry about. This one, it is application to application, but it's more than just application. But this one is transport layer here. And guess what? It corresponds to the transport layer here. That's the easy one. Now, the next 2 are going to be the confusing. This one, and remember what this model is. It's the TCP/IP model. Okay? Which has the word internet in it, right? And it's the protocol suite for the internet. Guess what? This is the internet layer. Now, it's going to correspond to the network layer over there on the OSI model. What were we doing here on this network layer? We're actually connecting networks together at that layer, right? That's where we had our routers at. That's what we just talked about a couple chapters ago. That's where you actually connect it to the internet. So over here, it happens to be the internet layer. Okay? Their view of it was you were connecting networks together right there. Here, they call it the internet layer. Now, here's the confusing one. This bottom one is the network layer. Now, that's not what they tell you in the book. They came up with something different. I've never seen anywhere else, whatever it is they call it there.
They call it the link layer.
The link layer. I've not seen anywhere else call it that. Cisco is a very much strong believer in that it's the network layer, and the other places I've looked at too, I'll call it the network layer. But the book wants to call it the link layer. For your purposes, we're going to go with network layer. Okay? The network layer is going to do the things, basically, that are here. Although more predominantly, the data link layer. Okay? They're not as worried, they're really not real worried about, in the Tcpip model, about the physical connection. So that's a little bit iffy right here. That you're really not covering that as far as the Tcpip model is concerned. Although you're doing some of it, so I'd rather just draw it that it's taking care of those areas. Now, but look what you've got the problem of here. Network layer do not match together. So guess what? You can see where the questions are there. What layer in the OSI model does the network layer in the Tcpip model correspond to? And one of the answers that's of the multiple choice questions should be network sitting there. So if you hadn't paid close attention and learned this very well, you guessed the wrong layer. Because if you just caught the fact there's a network layer on both sides, what's going to be your guess? Network layer is a network layer, right? Well, it's not. Now, how are you going to remember these? This set, the one I taught you was, programmers do not throw sausage pizza away. There's others also for it. Okay? That's the one I can remember. If there's some other one that won't make sense to you, your book throws you a different one, your other places throw other ones. But that one, from the time I learned it, clicked for me. This one, the one that I was taught, won't make any help to y'all. And that was Art Tucker is nuts. The only problem is you had to know Art Tucker. Art Tucker was the guy that taught me Cisco. Okay? So since he was our teacher, the thing he told us was, Art Tucker is nuts. Well, we could remember that. Well, I looked at it and figured out there's an easy one for all of y'all to remember. And it fits back into the same one the way I learned it. Because after all, what were we calling? That he was telling us to call our teacher nuts, right? Well, you can just take it the same way. A teacher is nuts. Now, I don't think I'm nuts, but y'all have all had a teacher that was nuts, and you may include me into that whole category, right? So, from the top, a teacher is nuts is a way to remember it. Now, can you remember it, Norman?
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Just because they check me out each morning, and I have to check back in beside them.
That doesn't mean nothing, though.
Or I could have a piece of paper that says I'm sane to y'all.
I just get up and escape every morning.
Alright, so that's our 4 layers. Bottom layer Notice the book calls it link, but for our purposes, we're going to call it network. All certification tests I've taken that the questions come up on, it's always been network.